I have a message from the village Jedi.
Max Rebo, hit it! Hello, Panorama family. The one cruise we went on, that's how every announcement started. And so I swear, every time I'm about to start an episode, that's how I want to start. But I will not. So, welcome to another Star Wars Point of View brought to you by the local Village Jedi. My name is Marina, and if you're new here, welcome. And if you're not, welcome back. If you're watching on YouTube, I thought, of course, because I love to keep my fans on their toes, we are not sitting in the office today. We are sitting on the couch. We're in our Mandalorian and Grogu Walmart pajamas. I just showered, no makeup, nice and cozy, have a little blankie, have Grogu SP1K3 joining us today. And we have a lot to talk about as far as the Mandalorian and Grogu movie goes. Because I was thinking, if we're going to break down a movie, why not get cozy doing it? Because who knows how long this episode is going to be? I don't know. You know, because there's a timestamp. But as of recording, I have no idea how long this is going to be. I might break it up into 2 parts to give myself, like, a break. But I don't know. I really don't know. So anyways, we are here and we're going to talk about the movie. But before we get into that, we're going to talk a little bit about how the behind the scenes are ran. If you feel like you would like to join the discussion, feel free to follow me on Instagram or TikTok at The Village Jedi. Or feel free to send me an email at tvjpod@gmail.com and we will go ahead and read that on air at the end segment of the episode and discuss it together. That is tvjpod@gmail.com. But before we dive into that, like I said, we have a lot to yap about. The movie just came out. We're all on cloud 9 because Star Wars is back in theaters. We're going to take a brief ad break. Hello there. If you are looking to build your collection, the Village Jedi is now collaborating with Saber Masters to offer you $20 off your first combat-ready laser sword. You heard that correctly, combat-ready. The team at Saber Masters makes it their personal mission to create lightsabers built to last using lightweight polycarbonate blades with customizable settings and simple navigation. Saber Masters has really crafted the ultimate experience. Saber Masters is always offering a great deal for Force users everywhere, but with my code TVJ20, you can save an extra $20 at checkout. Simply type in the code at the checkout screen, TVJ20, and you're done. Link will be in the show notes. All right, with all that out of the way, we have a lot to yap about. Happy Friday, by the way. I know this episode is coming out a little late. Part of the reason is because we were traveling, we were out of town all week, but another reason, if I'm being just so genuinely honest, I've been procrastinating this episode. I have been seeing a lot of online chatter, and it has made me wonder what exactly I'm going to do. Because when I went to see the movie the second time, I brought my iPad, I turned the brightness all the way down, and I took notes through the whole thing. So it's just notes for days. So I was thinking, are we going to break down the movie? Are we just going to talk about the highlights? Are we going to talk about what I like, what I don't like? I don't really know. We're just going to wing it. So, how do I feel about the movie, Marina? How did you feel? Well, going into it, I was obviously really excited. I posted some pictures of the costumes that I was wearing. My brother and I dressed up and we went together. A lot of fun. The first viewing, I just sat there and took it all in. I went in the afternoon at 1:30 on Friday, and then I went again at 8 o'clock with my friend who had never seen the show or anything like that. So that was a fun experience, and that's when I sat down and took all the notes. My first viewing, though, I finished the movie, and I'm not even exaggerating. I was so excited to come back and watch it a second time that day. Like, if I would have seen it in the morning, I probably would have tried to weasel my way in there to see it a third time. It just is such an enjoyable experience, and we're going to get into why. Because when you're watching Star Wars alone, it's fun. But when you're watching it with someone else, I feel like that enhances the experience. It's so much more fun for you. It's fun for your friend, especially maybe if your friend doesn't really know what's going on. You're kind of like, oh, hey, yeah, like, so that's what this planet is. Okay, so remember this character? Yeah, he's related to him. Like, it's a lot of fun. It is a social activity to enjoy Star Wars for me. So getting to enjoy it with my brother was really fun. Getting to enjoy it with my friend was really fun. But sitting in a theater, dressed up in a costume, getting to enjoy that with a room full of fans is fun. So that's kind of the majority of what my takeaway is going to be from this movie. I went into it expecting it to be controversial. And we talked a little bit about that on my last episode, that I wasn't really sure what we were getting into, but I knew it was going to be fun. It was going to be more to discuss as a fandom. I should have expected it to be such a clean divide. You either hate it or you don't. And we've been seeing that online. A lot of people are upset because it's not a high caliber movie. If you're going to put Star Wars on the big screen, it needs to be crisp, primo content. And on one hand, I get that. But on the other hand, we just got Andor Season 2. We just got Maul Shadow Lord. You got some primo, peak, lore accurate, intense Star Wars storytelling. It's okay that a movie came out that's a little more lighthearted. That's okay. If you want something darker and more serious, you just got that. Well, I didn't get it in theaters. Okay, you got it at home. Like, I don't see the problem. Because for me, Star Wars is Star Wars. So if you didn't like this Star Wars, you have this other Star Wars you can enjoy. So that was a little difficult for me, the discourses I've been seeing online, that the reasons people don't like it, majority of the time, it's because it didn't live up to the hype that they had prepared themselves for, because they just came off Andor, because they just came off Maul Shadow Lord. We are on this high caliber level of Star Wars storytelling, and that's what I was expecting from a movie. Now, on one hand, I understand, but on the other hand, from my perspective, because that's why you're here, welcome to the Village Jedi. My name is Marina. Here's what I think. The movie was fun because it was lighthearted. It was memorable and enjoyable because it was lighthearted. Those of you who grew up in the 70s, how old were you when you watched A New Hope for the first time in theaters? Some of you were probably like 8 or 9. That's what's happening for this new generation of fans. They are going home and pretending to be Din Djarin. They are playing with their toys. What was Luke Skywalker on? He was on lunchboxes. He was on bed sheets. He was toys. He was on your toothbrush. Kids-oriented character. So that was for people to be able to watch the movie and then go home and reenact the stories, reenact the adventures of Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Leia Organa. Because A New Hope as a whole, it's start to finish, arguably. We didn't need a movie afterward. We got one to, explore the lore and expand the storytelling, but we didn't need one. And so this movie feels very similar to me. We didn't need this movie because it's just another adventure, but arguably A New Hope is also an adventure story. And I know I'm going to get hate for that, but it's just the truth. A New Hope as a whole is directed toward children, for them to go home, go to the playground, and pretend to be Luke Skywalker. This movie is directed at children, for them to go home and pretend to be Din Djarin, pretend to be Grogu, pretend to be Rod of the Hutt. Like, that is what this movie is for. And that is enough for me to love it. Do you guys know how many kids were giggling and having the time of their life during the 2 showings I went to? It was amazing. It made the experience so much more fun, because I was sitting there and I'm like, oh, wow, this is fun. But there's a kid behind me who is just laughing his head off at everything Grogu or the Anzellans do. That just made the experience that much better for me. And I don't know, I'm a little softy. Like, I love it when kids are having a good time. And so getting to sit in a theater twice in one day where kids were just having the time of their life, at the same time I was having the time of my life. I'm sorry, I went dressed up. Like, obviously I'm having a great time, but it was enhanced because there were people in the room who were also having a fun time, creating core memories, and then going home. And I know they were talking about that movie to their parents. They want to watch it again. They went and got the toys at Walmart, just like all of us, and they're probably sleeping in the Mandalorian and Grogu pajamas from Walmart. So that is my TED Talk miniature ramble. I suppose the episode could be over how I feel about the movie. It's a very complicated, long drawn out, but it's more than just, oh, the movie was fun. Yeah, it was cute. I enjoyed it. It's so much more than that. For me, it is the springboard of a new generation of fans. And that is really, really cool. So we open up the movie. There's no yellow text like the credit roll, but we do kind of get a movie summary. They posted that on Google, kind of setting us up for where we're at in the stream of time. We're about to have another adventure. And that's also why I loved the title beforehand. Obviously, I know I was like, the title is horrible. It's the worst part of the movie. Can't we call it like This Is the Way or something that goes so hard? The Mandalorian and Girl. It makes so much more sense now. This movie felt like a special of the Mandalorian. And so that is my pitch to the community that didn't like this movie, is maybe you would have liked it if it wasn't marketed as a Star Wars movie, if it was marketed as a special, like The Mandalorian and Grogu, a Mandalorian special, or The Mandalorian and Grogu, a Star Wars special, a Lucasfilm special. I think you would have enjoyed it more. But the term movie, it's being thrown in the same judgment pit as Rogue One, as Revenge of the Sith, as Empire Strikes Back. And it's not going to swim. Like, if you compare it to those movies, it's not going to measure up because it is a different type of movie. It just is. So I think marketing, if they would have called it a special, we would have gotten a completely different response from the fan base as a whole. So just like the other movies, not like Solo, not like Rogue One, we didn't get a movie crawl, but we did kind of get an idea of where we're at in the stream of time. For us fans who have watched the show, have watched all 3 seasons, we know where we are. We just finished the 3rd season finale, and so now we're jumping back in to see what Din and Din Grogu have been up to. Din Djarin and Din Grogu. It was kind of exciting because we see right off the bat when the movie opens, we don't totally know where we are. And so that's what I was thinking. I was sitting in the theater and right away I was like, okay, like everybody else, like, okay, what's going on? Who's that? We see this table full of these people and they're talking, and there's one guy who's clearly running the meeting. He's a secret Imperial sympathizer. We're meeting on this snow planet. The snow troopers look really cool. And then Din breaks in and we see his blaster fire, this distinct silhouette, like the doors slide open and he's just going crazy. Y'all, this scene was so fire, literally. Like when he has like his like flamethrower, like, oh, it was so good. It was so good. Okay. So, we have the secret Imperial sympathizer. The meeting is broken up. And I thought it was funny because like as he's coming in, they're all freaking out and Din just like looks at them and they like point to the elevator. They're like, he went that way. So kind of a lighthearted moment, and then we see the mouse droid and he's running, and then Grogu stops him, and his little noises, you guys. That is part of the reason the second viewing of this movie was so great and so memorable, is because my friend, that was her first experience with Grogu. Like at the end of the movie, she's like, is Grogu like this all the time? Yes! He was so cute. And I know people are like, well, he's just a plant for the industry so that they can sell merchandise. I don't believe that. I'm sorry. I really do not believe that. I think it was a strategic choice to have him as Yoda's species and to have a character who survived Order 66, who is 50 years old, who is still kind of coming into his own, and now he's being trained as a Mandalorian. We're learning more about Mandalorian culture and prophecy through this character. He is not just a plant to sell toys. I'm sorry. It helps that he's cute, but there were a lot of other toys in the other movies that people enjoy, and people are like, well, it's just a weak argument for me. I don't like Grogu because he's an industry plant. Dumb. Because he's so cute. His little hands, his big ears, his little noises. Sorry, you're done. He's cute. So Din ends up saving Grogu from this like ATST trooper. He's like Grogu's like he's like posted up behind this wall, like he's like ah, and then we see Din and he gets on the ATST, saves Grogu. He's like, what are you waiting for? And Grogu like jumps up on him and they start running. They're going after the guy because he clearly got away. Well, then we cut to this scene where it's basically like extreme skiing, right? They're in the ATST and they just start like going down the mountainside, and it is going so fast, and his little ears, like, just seeing that in theaters was really cool. It's something I never thought I would ever see. And there were a lot of moments like this in the movie where you are just sitting there thinking, is what's happening really happening? I want you guys to know as you're listening, I'm sure you can hear the excitement in my voice. Like most fans, we are excited that we finally got another movie. But I'm trying really hard. Like, I'm looking at my notes that are just going on and on and on, and I'm trying to stick to the notes. But if I'm missing anything, please, please send me an email and tell me what your favorite parts of the movie are so that we can discuss it together at the end of the next episode, because I want to know what people thought about this movie without just having to scroll endlessly on my phone, consume a lot of content, because it's hard to sift through and find opinions that are actually sound through the opinions of people who are just hating for views or are just saying shocking things because they want engagement. Like, if you're listening to this and you genuinely have things that you would like to say about this movie, good or bad, please write it in. I would love to talk about it. I'm trying to stick to my notes, but this was just such an exciting film for me, and I cannot wait to see it again. So anyways, extreme skiing. We end up running into 3 AT-AT walkers, and they're just so cool. What's cool about this scene is you see how massive they are. Like, we see how massive they are in Empire Strikes Back, on Hoth, we see it in the animated shows, but getting to see it again on the big screen, and it stressed me out. Like, they're such big machines, and they're like on this like skinny cliffside road where one of them's gonna fall over, and that's exactly what happens. Din, him and Grogu save the day. They end up getting inside. Din's taking care of business. He's like placing bomb charges with one hand while he's holding Grogu. Like, he's done this before. They know what to do. Grogu knows where to stand, what part of the jetpack to hold on to. Din knows what to do to hold him with his hand, and then he's using the other hand to put the charges on. It just was cool to see their relationship come together and seeing them working together. Like, at this point, they've been on several missions together, and you can tell they both just like take their place. Girl, it's very similar. It's very similar, the vibes, to Batman and Robin. And I know that that is kind of a crazy thing to say because Batman and Robin are such an iconic duo. There's multiple Robins. However, the way they are able to just read each other, and I'm excited to continue to see that dynamic grow within the franchise. Because the movie left off, there wasn't any sort of like cliffhanger or any crazy dramatic moment. So we're going to continue to see these characters. There's not an end. And so it's going to be fun to see them continue to work on this partnership like we see with Batman and Robin. Like, it becomes a dance. They don't really need to talk. They just do. And so I'm excited to see that more with Din Djarin, with Din Grogu, with this clan of two. Absolutely love it. So we cut to the inside of the AT-AT-2. The snowtroopers are Imperial sympathizers. And so I wrote down, these guys believe in their cause. And Din is just taking them out on his way to the control room. He's on the hunt for his target. He is a bounty hunter to his core. But I just was sitting there thinking about that while I was watching this movie, that these are real people. They really do believe that the Empire is the superior way of government, and they're just there to support their cause. And now this Mandalorian covered in Beskar shows up and is just like plowing through. Oh, that would have been a good day to call in sick. Just saying. Grogu, he's so cute. He's like wedged between Din's shoulder and the top of the jetpack. The chargers are set. Grogu, oh, this was so cute, you guys. When he like knocks on his helmet because he's like looking back and he's like, bro, like they're about to blow. They're about to blow. Like, we got to get out of here. And he's like feeding on the helmet. Din's like, I know. I just need to get the shot. And Grogu's like, bro, we got to go. So that's what I mean. Like, there were so many moments, and this was just within the first 5 minutes that I was cackling. And I'm cackling talking about it now. Like, There were just so many wholesome comedic timing moments like that through this entire film. How could you walk out and be like, yeah, it was good, I guess? Bro, your funny bone is broken. Anyways, so that was cute. They get picked up by Zeb because the target's destroyed. He lines up this kill shot, explode. Target, we took care of him. They're picked up by Zeb, and Zeb says, it's better if you bring them in alive. You catch the bad guys, and then they tell us where the other bad guys are. And Din's like, yeah, well, this one got complicated, so I tried. And they load up, and this was the other one. Like, Din sets Grogu down, and he's all covered in snow, and he's cold, and he sneezes. Oh, he's just so cute, you guys. He's so cute. Then we cut to the intro music, the X-Wing sunset, the creator credits roll. This was cool. This was cool. And you hear the entirety of the Mandalorian intro music. It's like 2.5 minutes or something like that. And it's just these cool cinematic shots, callbacks to A New Hope, callbacks to Yavin 4. We see the New Republic. People are doing their job. Little Grogu, he's walking by Din and Zeb. Zeb looked really great. The CGI sold. I loved it. And we get into the film. So at this point, I'm recognizing, okay, this is just an extended TV show movie. They really should have marketed it as a special because we're about to watch The Mandalorian season 4.1, and it's about to be a movie, which is exciting. So this is the tone of the film. It is going to be an adventure. Grogu has his cute little waddles. They're walking and they're headed to the Colonel. The captain is mad. The colonel's mad that Din ended up killing the target because she wants information. This is the character played by Sigourney Weaver. She did a fantastic job. She says this isn't about revenge. It's about preventing another war and protecting everything the rebellion fought for. So now we understand what the New Republic's MO is. It's not so much that we're trying to take out the enemy. We already did that. Now we're just trying to maintain control. We're trying to maintain order and peace because we fought for this. And so we're going to do everything we can to preserve it. And you need to get on board or get out of the way. And Din's like, well, that's not really how I operate. I'm an independent contractor. And she's like, okay, whatever. So they round the corner. She presents a perfectly restored Razor Crest as payment for his past job, and then an upfront payment for this new job. They're going to go after this Commander Coin guy. And she's like, well, I can't really give you any leads. You're going to have to go directly to Nal Hutta to meet with the Hutts, who have agreed to lead us as the New Republic to Coin in exchange for the rescue of their nephew, Rada. At this point, as a viewer, I was like, Rada got kidnapped again? Like, this man can't catch a break. What do you mean? But my brother didn't know that. My friend didn't know that. So I just sat there. I'm like, okay, all right. Anyways, Zeb, he grabs his duffel bag. Grogu's jumping on the bed. Again, just such a cute moment. Like, Danny's trying to decide if he even wants to do this. And he looks over and Grogu's just having the time of his life. The little kids are giggling. This movie was just so fun. So they climb into the Razor Crest. Din takes his place in the cockpit. The adventure is about to begin. As they're flying away, we get a better idea of where they're at on this base. It's sort of this paradise island. I loved it. I think the Bad Batch would love it. Very vacation-y. I would love to visit. We enter hyperspace. At this point, I was hoping it would be kind of cool to see a Purrgil because, a lot of people are speculating that the Mandoverse and Ahsoka Season 2 and we're going to get it all and it's going to come together and, oh, my word, like, it's blah, blah, blah. It would have been cool to see some sort of reference to Ahsoka Season 2 in this film, and I think this would have been a great opportunity is, again, to have one of those cool hyperspace shots where Grogu looks out and he sees the shadow of a Purrgil whale. But we didn't. But we could. Whatever. It's fine. I loved it. We keep moving. We get to Nal Hutta, which we've seen in the Clone Wars. There's these 2 guardian ships. They ask for clearance information. Din relays that they're here by invitation of the twins. And Zeb's like, oh, it looks like they hired the droid Goucher. I think that's what he said. I wrote that down, but it could have been a typo. And he's like, the huts take security seriously. Then we see a bunch of these really cool droids, these like guardian droids that were put together like Legos, and I loved it. Again, there are so many opportunities in this movie where my little kid imagination brain was like, oh, I'm going to go home and pretend. I'm going to use my imagination. Like, I can see kids, they watch this movie, they see these cool droids, and then they go home and build them with their Legos or like draw them or talk about them. Or they're like, oh, yeah, I'm going to be one of the droid guys because each one is so unique looking. It looks like a little kid put them together. There's just so many aspects of this movie where childlike imagination sandbox play is taken full advantage of, and that is why it is such a strong film, in my opinion. So, um, Din talks to Grogu a little bit, and he says the Hutts are the head of a criminal enterprise for thousands of years. They use violence and treachery to maintain control. You may be their guests, but we are not safe. And Nal Hutta is nasty. Okay? I did not enjoy my time there. We were here the majority of the film. I did not enjoy it. It's very yucky. It just as a fan sitting in the audience, I could feel the humidity, you know. They're like giant slugs. Like, I'm not a slug girl. I love snails. I have a bunch of them in my aquariums. I'm always happy to see a little snail crossing the sidewalk. A slug though? No. Like, I'm almost getting like the creeps just thinking about it. And now imagining one like 9 feet tall. Bruh. I couldn't. So it is a slug, algae, humid, hot, just swamp planet. And we're on Nal Hutta. So Din walks in, he's got Grogu. We see the twins. This is the first time we've seen them since the Book of Boba Fett, where we first met them. The Hutts promise to lead Mando to Coin in exchange for rescuing their nephew. They show a severely outdated photo of him from the Clone Wars movie era and basically send him to the moon of Shikari. And they're like, oh, he's just fallen in with a bad crowd, Rada. Like, we'll do anything for someone to bring him back safely. He's in such grave danger. I, as a viewer, have no reason not to trust them. Looking back, I was like, oh, okay. Like, sure, he got kidnapped again. I mean, I guess maybe it's just a quirk. Like, maybe it's just one of his character quirks is Rada. He gets kidnapped. He's just silly like that. So at this moment, I didn't have a reason not to believe them. Okay, he got kidnapped. Moving on. We're headed to the moon of Shikari. Din's like, no problem. We get there. The Hutts have this massive security on their way out. It shows you how they have been able to best maintain control and power as they have zero trust issues. So even though they were invited guests, as Din said, they're still in danger. They're about to go to the moon of Shikari. Din is like, okay, yeah, I trust you, but like, we're just going to go scope it out. So they get there. Then it's cute. Again, very cute moment. We get to Shikari, and Din teaches Grogu how to check his armor plate. This is why I ran to Walmart. If you're watching on YouTube, I got this cute little bobblehead. You can see him. He's got his little armor plate. Very cute. Love him very much. Din says, you don't want it to slide, but also not too tight or it will restrict your movement. And I wrote down, like, their interactions just sort of echo what maybe Din's father figure had said to him. Like, he is reminiscing, because he was a foundling as well. And so whoever taught him the Mandalorian way, I can see he's like reliving these memories with Grogu. Like, okay, here's how to adjust your armor. You want to make sure you don't have it too tight. Like, the things he's saying to Grogu are the things that were said to him. And that's just very cute to me. And a prime example of what a good, caring father figure looks like. So, then we get to this cool beat syntho music on Shikari I've been hearing and seeing through social media. Soundtrack really popped off, as we all knew it would. Really enjoyed the music. We land in this secluded hallway looking for where to start with leads. We get to this cool food truck. He ends up presenting a large credit in exchange for information and ends up getting info from a nearby advertising poster. But at first, the shopkeeper is scared of hearing the Hutt's name, like just in general. But then he laughs when he's like, "Oh, you're looking for Rada? Yeah, like everyone knows him. Like, duh." But it made me think, like, who is he afraid of? Like, who did he think Din was actually talking about? I don't know. And so that's kind of the reason why I was a little more intimidated to do this episode in the first place, is because there's a lot happening. I have a lot of thoughts because it's a whole movie. It's a whole movie. You guys have been here where I did an hour-long episode breaking down a 30-minute television show. So, what am I supposed to do with a little over a 2-hour movie? New characters, new soundtrack, new costumes, new planets, new everything. So, if I miss something, I'm going to go rewatch it a third time. I'm sure there's just going to be a lot of Mandalorian and Grogu yap well on the way because we are still in the Mandalorian and Grogu era. So, they view on the advertising poster, okay, he's over in the Gladiator Stadium, so they make their way over that way. Grogu's in the stands with his dad, munching on snackies. Rada is in the arena, and he wins by sort of crushing, like falling on top of the gladiator that he's fighting in. This man, he's using his weight. The crowds cheer and chant, and Rada ends up getting like this post-fight massage. They're in, so Din and Grogu end up going to find him, and that's where he's at. He's laying there getting his back massage. Din speaks Huttese at first to just let him know, like, yo, I know who you are. And Rada's not really shaken by that. He's like, are you here to kill me? Which Jeremy Allen White spoke. It was a jump scare, okay? I, like many fans, I wasn't really sure what to expect. I don't know why. I think it's because when you hear that a celebrity is going to be a voice actor, it can go one of two ways. Like, it either you close your eyes and you're like, oh yeah, that's them talking. Or you're like, really? That's them? I did not know what Jeremy Allen White was going to be doing with this performance. He nailed it. I loved it. It was a jump scare in the best way, and it made Rada so much more lovable. He's almost like this teenager to early 20, like late teens, early 20, college kid, chill, like it's not really that big a deal. It ain't that deep, confident. Like, he gave the right vibes for the character. I bought into it. I loved it. And now I'm hoping that we see him again in future stories, especially because him and Grogu form such a solid connection. Which leads me to the next scene. He ends up getting fed by Grogu. He's like, yo, can I feed him? Again, and the kids were just eating it up. Like, while the adults are talking, he's throwing Grogu little treats, and Grogu's just like eating it up. He like shimmies through the bars so he can get closer, and the kids were loving it, and I was loving it. I'm like, oh, this is so funny. So what ends up transpiring is Rada's like, I don't know why you're here, bro. Like, I'm fine. As you can see, I have everything I need. And tomorrow's my last fight anyways. So, like, I'm going to be a free man. I have a lot of support behind me. I have a great fan base. So, wherever I end up, I'm going to be fine. And Din's like, that's not what I heard. Like, I heard you're in with a bad crowd and your aunt and uncle want you. And he's like, nah, my aunt and uncle want me dead, bro. Like, I don't know why they sent you, but it's not because they actually give a rip about me. And Din's like, okay, whatever. Well, Grogu, let's go. This was kind of the part of the movie, like something that didn't really sit right with me, that I think kind of shows how some sort of dynamic growth as the movie progressed is Din says heel to Grogu, almost like he's a dog. And I didn't really like that. Like, he's not a dog. He's not a pet. He's a person. And that was just kind of something that rubbed me the wrong way. It's not that deep. I'm not losing sleep over it, but I was kind of like, yo, like, he's a kid. Like, why'd you tell him to heal? That's so weird. But whatever. We learned that Lord Janu is who is the overlord of Rada's contract, the arena. That's who you need to talk to if you have a problem. Don't be talking to me. So Din's like, I'll go find Lord Janu. So we learn a little bit more about Rada. He sort of believes that he's been living in Jabba's shadow. That's why he's a fighter. Talking about his father, he says they feared him, but they cheer for me. So again, you can kind of see this like late teens, early 20s mindset of like, I'm not my father. I'm not going to live in his shadow my whole life. I don't want to be like him. I'm my own man and I'm going to make something of myself in this world. And this is how I'm going to do it. It might not be the best way, but it's my way. And Din's like, all right, well, I have experience as a dad. So I guess I'll support you, but I'm still going to try to save you. So he goes and he tries to find Janu, but he doesn't know where to start. So again, he meets up with the food truck guy. He's kind of cooperative, but he's super scared. Lord Janu is sort of like the Job of the Hutt of the area. Like, people don't really want to talk about him. They kind of want to stay in his good graces. And the scene where Din kind of like shoves himself into the food truck and he's just like, he's like so massive, like hunched over in this food truck. And Grogu is just like snacking. Again, I just loved seeing their dynamic throughout this whole film. So the food truck guy, he kind of cooperates again. He says like, maybe you could try the salt bar. I guess salt is pretty valuable on this planet on Shikari. I wrote down that the bar has these cool turquoise tiles along the wall, and I really loved them. The set designs throughout this whole movie are just so well done. The sets, the costumes, it really is the show, but longer. And the show, a lot of effort, a lot of thought. It is a passion project. You can tell it comes through to the fans, it comes through from the acting. Very nice, very nice. So, again, great job on the set designs. Okay, let's keep rolling through. Mando ends up cleaning house with Lord Janu's sort of henchman. He comes out, he invites Mando into his office. The bar fight, like, it felt kind of cringe, but, you know. I get the feeling that the Mandalorian, especially following Din Djarin, is supposed to be very westerny. And there's always a bar fight in a western, so okay, fine. If there has to be a bar fight because it's a sci-fi western, there has to be a bar fight. Mando, he doesn't really want the salt. He ends up coming to be able to pay for Rada's freedom, and Lord Janu's like, no way, like he's way too valuable. Plus, it doesn't really matter because I rigged the fight and he's gonna die tomorrow. And Mando's like, are you for real? And Janu's like, yeah. So if I were you, I would bet on him losing and then you're going to make a ton of money. So that's what I would do. And Din's like, whatever. He takes the salt crystal, drops it in the henchman's drink, which was such a slay. And we head toward, again, the arena with the plan of breaking Rada out. Grogu shimmies up this drain pipe. Again, there's no talking. Like, he just knows. Din is training him how to be a bounty hunter, essentially a bounty hunter Mandalorian, and it's working. Like, okay, do what you gotta do. He like shimmies up the little drain pipe. He's got this core ab strength, this little alien. So good. Loved that. He's the sidekick. Excuse me. We head again into the arena, prison, cell, gate areas, and Rada's sleeping. And we hear again, Rada's like, the twins want me dead because I'm the heir to the Hutt Empire. And Din's like, kid, fighting's not a sport, it's a last resort. And Jabba never taught him that, so he's never had anyone but himself to rely on. So he's just like, that's too bad. Like, I like fighting and I'm going to keep doing things my way. Guards, cuff him, he's over here. And then they like release this gas. Din passes out, Grogu passes out, and then we open up to the arena. This scene was probably one of the coolest scenes in the whole film. There were multiple scenes that were cool, but this one was cool as soon as I put it together. It took a little while, but once I put it together, super, super cool. Rada, the doors open and we see him, and you can hear like the chanting. The crowds are happy that he's gonna fight. They're even more happy as soon as they see Din because he's gonna fight a Mandalorian. So Din's like, I'm not gonna fight you. And then Rada's like, okay, well then it sounds like you're about to have a really long day. So they start fighting. Din grabs a sword, and that's why it was kind of cool. As soon as I saw him grab the sword, I leaned over to my brother and I'm like, yo, he's got the sword. Like, that's so cool. Because at Walmart, there is a Mandalorian and Grogu Black Series toy, and it comes with the jetpack and Grogu and Din, and then there's a sword. Not the dark saber, but like a sword, a double-edged sword. And I was looking at, I'm like, why does he have a sword? Like, maybe he's gonna have one in the movie. Yeah, buddy. This is where that toy comes from. This is where the sword comes from. Din engages in the fight. He ends up getting the upper hand. Then the crowd starts chanting for Din. And so this was a very strategic move on Din's part, is to help Rada see that they actually don't care about him. They just want a good show. And so as soon as he starts to get the upper hand and the crowds turn on him, then he's all dejected. He's like, are you serious? Like, I thought I mattered to you. And Din's like, no, you don't matter to them. Like, they just want a good fight. So then he stops and he's like, I yield. Rada has won. He's free. And Lord Johnu's like, yeah, he's free. Free to die. And then that's when the gates sort of open and we see all these monsters come through. And it was at this point that I realized, like, oh, this is cool. It's one of those games. I didn't get a chance to look it up because, again, I just had so many notes. I didn't want to stuff the notes too full. But if you guys remember, in A New Hope, and then we see it in the Rise of Skywalker movie, I think we see it in the Solo movie, we just kind of see it throughout Star Wars as a whole, is this game played on this circular checkerboard looking thing with holographic monsters. And you press a button and then the monster attacks, and basically the whole thing is like, it's a game of survival. It is a gladiator match. And so you want your monster to come out on top. This scene, Rada and Din, when they pan out and you can see all the monsters, the arena is a giant version of the game board, and then all the monsters are the holographic monster pieces from the holographic game, which is just so cool. I mean, if you want to talk about making a movie for the fans, this is the way to do it. It's not a way to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to name drop Luke Skywalker and then Yoda's going to randomly show up and, oh, is that Mace Windu? Like, no, you do it this way where it's subtle. It's an ode to the OGs, where if you get it, cool, and if you don't, it's okay. You don't feel like you're out of the loop. So I really did like that. Everyone loves a good arena scene. It reminded me of Geonosis. And Din's basically like, okay, well, we're surrounded. The only way we're going to win is together. And Rada's like, okay. We get this wide shot of all the monsters. They're moving across the board. Super cool. The arena guard rays are then broken shortly after the fight transpires, and chaos ensues. It's just panic. It is mayhem. All the monsters are just going crazy. And at this moment, I was like, oh, okay, well, there's your distraction. Like, there you go. That's something else I wanted to say, is this movie is not difficult to follow. Not because it's a bad movie, but because it's a simple story. And good movies can have simple stories, because the heart of good movies with simple stories are the lovable characters, are the dialogue, is the music, is the costumes, is the set designs. You can put a lot of effort into a simple story and create a good movie. And that's what this is. So, again, predictably, Rada ends up, he's like, okay, like, I'll find us a ride. And then he ends up taking off, and Din and Grogu are like, okay, like, I guess we gotta hunt him down. They call Zeb. They're like, Zeb, we got a runner. Rada's cornered by Zeb in the Razor Crest. Grogu, he's in like this hijacked high-speed stroller. Mando's got his jetpack. So they catch him, they corral him, and then dump him in the Razor Crest, and he's sort of suspended in this hanging net. So then we cut to the next scene, and Mando, he's like, it's not safe to be suspended in hyperspace, so if I cut you free, can we be chill? And we end up learning that Rada is upset with Mando because he's like, how can you even work for my aunt and uncle? Those people are monsters. The way they treated me as a kid, like, they were terrible. And Mando's like, I'm not working for them. I'm working for the New Republic. The New Republic is after this fool named Commander Coin, and I've got to track him down. But your aunt and uncle aren't going to give me a lead until I bring you back to Nal Hutta. This is a quest, friend. I'm not working for them. I have to do this for them to get to point B from point A. Are you following the math? And then Rod is like, bro, we just need to cut the middleman. Like, I know Commander Coin. And Mando's like, say what? So they kind of have this dialogue, this interesting dialogue where Rod is like, hey, if I help you, like, can you agree to just drop me off somewhere instead of turning me in to my aunt and uncle so that they can kill me? And Mando's like, I mean, I guess, like, I do believe in young men being supported and liberated. So that's exactly what happens. They head to Lord Janu's / Commander Coin's estate. It is a mansion surrounded by stormtroopers. And we're quickly catching to another hilarious part of the movie. They're just peppered in through this whole film, but this one was particularly, like, I was crying laughing at this part. We get in, Zeb and Din Djarin are supposed to be at the mansion. They take Commander Coin, they jump in the speeder, and they're like headed to the Razor Crest. They're being pursued by the stormtroopers, they're getting shot at. And so Mando like taps into the Razor Crest. Rada and Grogu are like napping. Like, this is a very high speed, intense life or death situation. And then we pan to the cutie patooties having a little nap session. And so Din is like, hey, like, start the engine. Like, we're gonna have to leave. It's gonna be a quick exit. And Rada's like, okay, 10-4 confirmed. And he looks at Grogu. He's like, do you know how to fly this ship? And Grogu like shakes his head. And he's like, yeah, I don't either. Like, I can't even fit in the cockpit. Like, what are we going to do? We did not think this through. And so Grogu like waddles. He gets up to the cockpit. And Din's like, okay, here's the buttons that you're going to need to push. And he kind of gives him a walkthrough. And he lifts the little like button card, pushes it, and then you just see this huge missile, and it comes within like 4 feet of their speeder. And Mando's like, no, not that one. That is the only button with a guard on it. Like, not the one with the button guard on it. That's why you don't push it, because it has a guard on it. And Grogu's like, oh, okay, yeah, my bad. He goes over to the other one, flips up the guard, presses out. It was so funny. And Zeb's like, I don't think he understands you. Oh, it was just so funny. Like, he's just totally making it worse. Okay, so then they get there and unload. They throw Coin in the ship, and Rada's like messing with the stormtroopers. He's trying to like shake them off the ship. And Din runs up to the cockpit and grabs Grogu and sets him aside. He's like, good job, buddy. You know, he's so supportive. He's such a good dad. And Grogu's like, I tried. He's like, I know. You did a really great job. So, just super cute moment. He's such a supportive dad. So the pursuit continues in the air. Now it's a dogfight. The passengers are getting tossed around. Zeb is right at home. Like, this reminded me of an episode of Rebels where, you know, as much as you try, it just goes wrong. But, you know, we're making it out of here. We've got our found family trope. He looks at Grogu and he's like, I told you to strap in. Always wear your seatbelt. Again, another dad moment where Din's just like, don't worry. Like, even though we're in a life and death situation, I'm still going to take time to teach you a valuable learning lesson. And Grogu's like, okay. It's just so fun. Like, this whole movie is just such a ride. So we get back to the base, and that is kind of, at least from my perspective, where we feel that episode 1, so to speak, has just finished. Like, we are now about to get into the next bit of the story. So Din ends up bringing Coin to the Colonel, and we see Dave Filoni. He's wearing his hat, which was so exciting as a fan. You're like, yo, that's Dave Filoni. He didn't say anything, you know, in that scene where you're like, oh, that's so crazy. Okay, anyways. the Colonel, she's not happy. She's like, we had an arrangement with the twins. She's worried about what they might do. The Hutts hold grudges. Din doesn't really care about the twins. He's proud of his choice. He's like, this one got messy and I'm taking a break. She's like, okay. So then we cut to probably the cutest scene in the whole movie that I could watch on an hour and a half loop, no joke. Rada is playing in the surf with Grogu. Rada is very much like this older brother character to Grogu, and I just love that about him. I would love to see him show up again in more Star Wars stories because it just was so fun to see their dynamic. You can tell how much he loves Grogu. He wants to treat Grogu how, unfortunately, he was not treated by his father and by his family. Just very gentle. I really did appreciate that. So again, it's reaffirming to Din that he did indeed make the correct choice by preserving Rada's life. Thank you. Thank you for your patience while I tried to remember my thought. Okay, so now we're headed back to Navarro. Hey! And then we see the outline of Embo, the bounty hunter from Clone Wars. He's got this cool hat. He's got a little dog. Watching this movie for the first time, I didn't really know what was happening. I mean, in hindsight, it makes so much sense. But in the moment, I was kind of like, okay, like, what's he here for? Because again, we just finished sort of episode 1-esque of this special. And so I'm almost wondering, like, is Embo here to team up with Mando? Like, hey, I've got a job for you. Like, I didn't totally know what was happening. But upon a rewatch, this really is, it's just such a fun adventure story. Everything ties together. The ship that takes Rada away ends up being the ship that Grogu and Din use for their grand escape and their grand triumph on Nal Hutta. So it's just a very nice story. Things make sense. So we see the Inzelans, and they come in just once. You guys, just once. I wanted to hear like, hey. I was waiting for it this whole movie. That's kind of one of my only critiques is like, I wish an Inzelan would have said that just once. I just needed one. But they come cruising. They're going to like help with the Razor Crest. Din is like, okay, get rid of anything that we don't need dead weight. I need it to be able to go as fast as possible. We know Din, he's a speed demon. He's always getting himself in tricky situations where his only plan is to evade. So the Inzelans, they go to work. And Grogu's all excited because his dad gives him permission to go and help them. Rada says, I was alone when I was his age. And Din's like, well, you turned out just fine, which is the closest thing that Din can give to as a compliment to Rada. And Rada probably will never forget it, which is really sweet to think about. Rada ends up raiding Din's kitchen, and he slips some little blue cookies to Grogu, and Grogu's all happy about it. Rada gets on this ship, and he is safely, so we as the audience believe, taken away. And he can start his new life somewhere. Din's like, you need to lay low, and Rada's like, don't worry, I'm not out here trying to mess up my second chance. So we then realize Embo is actually watching Rada's ship leave, and now we realize I like started to put it together. The tension starts to build. It's pouring down rain. Din's pet, like, mini horses, I don't remember their names, but they're like the frog toads with the little arms, smell that something's wrong, and Din, like, his senses start to kind of tingle. He's like, what's going on? We see Embo and his dog sort of like make their way toward the Dinjarin residence. Din has everyone go underground. He's like, leave on my signal. And the signal, because I remember sitting there the first watch, I'm like, what's the signal going to be? Like, he's not going to blow up the house. But it's so creative. He is standing on a metal plate that Grogu and the Inzelans are under the house. And so the signal is Din just taps his heel. And that to Grogu is like, okay, like, we got to get out of here. So smart. It's the little things. We see then Embo's perspective. He's running to the house. He jumps on the rooftop, and it kind of looks like a video game perspective, which was really cool. This was the only scene in the movie like that, and I did enjoy it. Din ends up like blowing up the roof. Embo falls down. He throws a flash charge. Din starts running in pursuit, and he steps right into the trap. Like, He's not thinking clearly. This was a rookie move, but it also shows you how smart Embo is. He knows his enemy. So Din ends up getting electrified, he's neutralized, and then Embo's dog ends up taking one of the Anzellans, I assume mistaking it for Grogu. Like when I'm playing this out in my mind and the twins are like, there's a Mandalorian and his name is Din Djarin and he lives in Navarro and he's got a cute little alien with him. If you're a dog, you're grabbing a cute little alien and it just happened to be an Anzellan instead of Grogu. So that's what I think happened in that situation. We learn that he works for the Hutts. They say bring him to Nel Hutta because he's on they're on the holo call and Grogu overhears. And I sort of love that we see one at this part and we see them through the whole movie as the like typical Star Wars classic Google presentation slide transitions in between the scenes. So we had one of those. Din wakes up. He saves the little Anzellan, throwing a little cookie. He's like, oh, you want a treat? And then he gets electrified again by Embo. There was a lot of kids in my theater who loved the Anzellan. They thought every time he spoke, any of them, every time they spoke was super, super cute. This scene in particular, where Grogu gears up. There is a place for serious stories, as we talked about, and there's a place for wholesome adventures with lots of giggles, and that's what this was. Like when little Grogu is lacing up his metal plate and his leather straps, and he's got his cute little whistling birds, and then he like shimmies over to the Anzellans, and they all pile in, and his big ears in this tiny ship. It's just so comical. And then like Embo's ship flies in and he needs to get security clearance, but the Anzellans like fly in with the birds, like no one no one even sees them. The rest of the movie is here and I couldn't be more happy about it because it is just there's so many wholesome moments, so many Grogu moments. I just love it. So Mando is brought into the twins chamber by Embo. The Anzellans are reunited. There's sort of this cuteness overload hug. He's like, oh, we thought you were dead. The big guy, he's inside. I'm calling them the Goof Troop at this point. Like in all my notes, I refer to them as the Goof Troop. They end up heading toward Din. And what's cute to think about is Din has no idea that these adorable, big hearted aliens are on their way to save him. And I just think that is so precious. So they're, making their way. They climb up the algae tree, palace base, tower, trying to find Din. And we cut to potentially the most quotable part of the film. They climb up the sewer system. There's like this 2-foot opening where the sewage is just leaking out. And one of the Anzellans just goes, big pipe, huh? I have been saying that like crazy. Big pipe, huh? It just is so funny and so random. And what's funny is it's not even big because they're tiny. So, I just had to say that. It's just so funny. Big pipe, huh? It gets me every time. They round the corner. Grogu has sort of these like little baby whistling birds full of green slime or maybe toxic acid, who knows, but whatever, his dad knows how to he taught him how to defend himself. In the meantime, we cut to Din Djarin and he's in this terrifying situation. He knows he's going to figure it out, but he doesn't know how yet. One of the twins says, "You broke our agreement, now you must pay. Bring me his helmet." What's even more is knowing we have shamed you forever. You will be outcast for letting an enemy see your face. So they're humiliating him. And Din's like, not if you die. Like, don't worry. My people won't disown me if I kill the people who saw my face. So cold. But they're not even shaking. They're like, okay, whatever, bro. We're the ones that caught you. So we're not shaking in our boots whatsoever. We don't even wear boots. So then we pan to Rada, and Din looks over. He's being psychologically tortured. They reveal that they did, in fact, have this plan to kill him. And And they say, well, now he will suffer for centuries because Hutts live for hundreds of years. One day you will die, and Grogu will not have you to protect him, and then it will be his turn to suffer. And before Din can even say anything, the trapdoor opens, and Din sinks to the bottom because he's wearing all this Beskar armor. So there's like this water, slushy, muddy swamp pond at the bottom. Excuse me. And he just goes right down. Beskar drags him. So he's trying to swim. He gets to the top. Now he has to survive these swamp monsters, and they are hungry, they're ravaging, they're mean. It's a very New Hope sort of, like, they're in the swamp, in the trash compactor. And then we cut again in Return of the Jedi with the Rancor. So there's just a lot of cool OT callbacks. But this one was fun because it doesn't feel like a cheap knockoff Rancor. Like, the monsters are actually terrifying. The swamp creatures remind me of the like lizards that can run on water, where their heads kind of like flare out a little bit. Din fights with one of their weapons, slowly picking them off one by one. I know he won't die. I know Grogu won't die, but it's the same vibes. Like, okay, yeah, duh, I know Luke Skywalker isn't gonna die, but what's gonna happen? Like, I'm just excited to see how this transpires so that I can, reenact it with my cousins later. That's the vibe. So once the swamp monsters are killed off, then the Hutts are like, okay, well, here's your reward for surviving part 1. They drop his helmet, and then he turns around and there's this giant swamp albino snake, which later we find out is called a dragon. I wrote it down. Let's see. Dragon snake. It is called a dragon snake. So at this point, I thought maybe he was going to be a force creature, because we as an audience know Grogu is on his way. We know he's nearby. He's in the big pipe. And so at this point, I thought maybe he's going to be a force creature, and that's how he gets out of this situation, is Grogu sort of connects with him like he did with the Mudhorn, and that's how he's able to save him. But no, it's a full-on fight. Din utilizes the spear to fight. He locates his helmet. He's back in business. He perches on the ledge like Batman, jumps down, hits the snake, and somehow he ends up like in the snake's mouth and is bit in the rib cage, which at first you're like, oh, yikes. But I mean, I guess it's kind of okay until the Hutts say, okay, well, even if you win, you'll die from the poison. So dragon snakes are poisonous, which it makes sense now that I'm saying it out loud. Snakes have venom. We look across the way. This is another funny part. Din looks across the way and he sees Grogu and the Anzellans. And Grogu's like waving his little hand with a charge that is already counting down, which we already know. We don't have to worry about Grogu being worried, hey, this charge is going to go off, because he's already freaking out. Like, we already saw him when he was hitting Din's helmet. He's like, hey, just so you know, this is about to go off. So I wasn't scared that he was going to get blown up, because he's already fully aware of how much time he's got as soon as that thing starts blinking. But Din is freaking out. He's like, okay, like, get away. Like, he places the charge, and then the crew, the goof troop, they're like waddling away. And that's how he ends up getting saved, is the explosion causes this huge whoosh of water, and Din is able to escape that way, which again, full circle moment. He didn't kill the dragon snake because the dragon snake ends up killing the Hutts later. Full circle, which rewatching it, you're like, duh. But in the moment, you're like, okay, like, I guess the snake lives to fight another day, as does Din. So Din ends up saving Grogu because he's not a great swimmer. He saves the Anzellans. And then what's funny is, like, he's holding them and then he just stands up. Like, the water is only waist deep, but because he's surrounded by these little itty bitty tinies, like, they're like, I'm gonna die. We're all gonna die. And Din just, like, stands up. Which I thought was so funny, especially if you're an Anzellan. You've got to be thinking, like, this cannot be how I die. Are you for real right now? Like, this cannot be the end for me. What are you gonna do? So as he's holding him, I wrote down in my notes, Din is very much giving, like, he's a single mom who works 2 jobs, who loves his kids and never stops. He's holding the Anzellans, he's holding Grogu, and he's just back in business. Okay. And the Anzellans are like, bro, don't worry, bro. Don't even worry. We have a ship. And Din is like, oh, okay, great. Well, where's the ship? Like, where do we go? So they're giving him directions and he's running around. The Hutts end up sending out search squads. They want him dead. They take double crossing very seriously, but Din and the crew, like, they're on their way to the ship. The Enzones are just so grateful for him. Grogu's sort of encouraging him, like, okay, it's over here. And then they get to the ship and it's small. Because they're all small. And you can see it's just funny because we don't see Pedro Pascal's face during this, but the amount of expression the actors are able to give through the mask, like you can see he looks down at the ship and he's just thinking like, you've got to be kidding me. Like he's running on empty and now this is the final straw. Like when you've had a really bad day and then you walk out to your car to go home and you drop the keys. This is one of those moments where you're like, this is it. I am not gonna make it. I am throwing in the towel. Like you can just tell he's like, are you kidding me? Whatever. He's encouraging Grogu to get on the ship. He's like, don't worry. The ship flies away. He says goodbye. And as a viewer, you can tell Din's like, I'm never gonna see him again. But we know. We know. And so that's another reason why it's kind of for kids, is because as a kid you don't have that sort of like critical thinking loop where you're like, okay, well, I know logically the movie is called The Mandalorian and Grogu, and I know logically these are the two main characters, so they're not going to die. As a kid, you're like, no, Grogu, no. And so there was a lot of fear and panic in my theater because they weren't really sure what was going to happen. I, of course, knew he wasn't going to die. Yet again, I'm excited to see how this transpires. And it didn't disappoint. We hear this very emotional, sad music. And you know Grogu didn't get on that ship. You know he's gonna like force heal Din. That makes sense logically because we haven't really been seeing any force-esque things happening in this movie, but there's always some sort of dramatic use of the force with the Mandalorian and Grogu. And so I kind of was hoping that's what was going to happen, but I just didn't know when it was going to happen. Like, did he get on the ship and then he's going to like come back? Like, what's going to happen here? So this sad emotional music starts playing and is very beautifully written. What I imagine a Mandalorian would definitely hear as they peacefully die lying among the forest foliage. So Din ends up alone on the forest floor. These bugs come out of nowhere. Like I wrote down, if you want to commit a crime and hide a body where it will never be found, Nal Hutta is the place to go, because these bugs wasted absolutely zero time. Like they didn't even wait for the heartbeat to stop. They were already on him. They were like, all right, let's go to work. Oh my goodness. And then when they pan out, it's this cool shot of seeing this shiny Beskar contrasted with these bright shades of green, him laying in the foliage. So again, just another beautiful scene that we see during this very emotional time where Din almost dies. The kids, while they were seeing the bugs, were really grossed out, as was I. And in particular, there's this scorpion. He's about to deliver the final shot, and then Grogu eats the scorpion. Everyone was just in stitches. Giggles galore. So sweet. I want to know what's in this fool's mouth. Like, the fact that he was able to just eat a full-on scorpion, no problem. His palate must be made of Beskar. Like, the top of his mouth. I don't know. He ends up force healing his dad, expects him to wake up. He doesn't know about the poison, so he kind of starts shaking him. And in this moment, I wrote down very Lion King, because that's exactly how it feels when Simba is like, you know, with Mufasa. He's like, Dad, wake up. Like, after the wildebeest, he's like, we're safe now. Bro. The millennials everywhere started crying like we were getting war flashbacks. Disney does it again. Disney, what would it really be a Disney movie if the parents didn't die? Come on now. So, Grogu can't talk. He doesn't need to, because we as an audience understand what's going on through his mind. He's panicking. What do I do? Okay, I guess I can just like do what I can. He notices that the droids who were sent out to hunt them down are coming, so he covers his dad with leaves. We see sort of this like what is it called? Time lapse of the moon and the stars and in the sunshine and in the moon. So like night and day has passed. Grogu gets a cute little walking stick. He finds some drinking water, brings it to his dad. And something I noticed I wrote down because he sees this crash ship, he sees the lizard aliens, brings his dad water. But something I noticed was he preserves his dad's honor by gently lifting the helmet and giving him the water. So we as an audience do not give Grogu enough credit. Yes, he's a kid. Yes, he's a baby. That is how he's referenced. That is how he's portrayed. But he's also very smart and he understands how Mandalorian culture works, and we see that in these scenes. And he also understands how Jedi meditation culture works because as he's sitting there on the log, he's doing his little meditations, and I think that's really, really sweet and endearing. So he starts using his little hands to build a mud hut. The little pats, the little like tippy tappy pats of his little hands. So cute. So cute. This was another hilarious moment that absolutely killed in the theater, both with the kiddies and with me. Din does not fit in the mud hut. So he like force lifts him and then pushes him in the mud hut, and like you can hear his helmet bonking, but like his feet and ankles are still sticking out. So Grogu, you can tell he's just like, okay. So then he gets some little branches and covers his feet and ankles because he's like, I am not playing in the mud again. Like, I'm exhausted. But he's so independent. He's not this defenseless little baby anymore. Like, he is fully taking care of business right now. We see him waddle through. There's this cool swarm of blue fireflies, and I think that would make some really cute fan art later. I might have to draw that at some point. Grogu finds this fisherman's hut and swims toward him. He steals a fire roasted fish. He's so brave in his little armor. And I'm hoping that we continue to see Grogu grow as Disney Star Wars continues. Like the next time we see him, it would be nice if like he spoke a couple words. Like I just am looking forward to hearing him speak and knowing kind of what he thinks about the world, his experiences, because it would be very frustrating to be able to understand information but not be able to deliver information. Like he cannot speak what's on his mind, but he does retain. He knows what's going on, as we see here. He is fully independent. He is taking care of his dad. He's preserving his Mandalorian honor. He is hunting, gathering, protecting, but he can't speak. And so I'm looking forward to future Star Wars projects where eventually we see Grogu coming into himself more, and then we get to actually hear what's going through his mind. So, he's just doing a very good job taking care of Din, but then he goes back for another fish, and the fisherman notices him this time, and he's like, "Are you scared? Like, you should be." And Grogu's like nodding his head as he's eating the fish, and so then Embo shows up with his dog. He's been hunting Din. He never left Nal Hutta. So the fisherman like hides him, and then Embo assumingly is asking for information like, hey, this Mandalorian's on the loose. He's got a little green alien with him, big ears, cute, you know the type. If you see him, call me and I'll reward you. Like, it's kind of the vibe of the conversation. Assumingly, Embo also tells him that Din was bit by the dragon snake. Like, we don't really know whose side Embo is on here, because if he was hunting Din, he wanted Din dead. Why would he tell the fisherman he was bit by the dragon snake? So part of me almost wonders, like, his allegiance is to himself. So maybe he does know Din and he thinks he's kind of a cool guy and he was just doing it for the money. And he's like, hey, if you see him running around, just know like he's kind of in a sticky situation. You're a local, so maybe you could help him. I don't know. I just thought that was very interesting that he relayed that information. And maybe I'm missing something. I could be. Sound off in the comments. So the fisherman ends up giving Grogu a poison antidote because he's like, yeah, I heard your friend was bitten by the dragon snake. I'm not saying this will help, but like it is worth a shot. Grogu runs as fast as he possibly can to deliver this medicine. And he feeds Din the antidote, again, very gentle. he expects it to work immediately, so he's like trying to wake him up, but instead he just cozies up under his arm, slowly falling asleep. And something my friend said, she was like, he went to sleep not knowing if it was going to work. He went to sleep cuddled up against his dad, thinking he wasn't going to wake up. And I, unfortunately, am not mentally stable enough to think about that for very much longer, so we're going to go ahead and move on. Din is gone when Grogu wakes up, like he's all by himself. Again, I can't think about this too long because there will be a time when Grogu does wake up alone and Din is not there. Okay. Din's harvesting these flowers. They make eye contact. He doesn't really say thank you. He just says, "Hey, kiddo, the old protect the young, and then the young protect the old. This is the way." Indicating that Grogu is indeed doing things according to the Mandalorian creed, acknowledging his teachings are working. So then Grogu shows him the gun running ship. It fell. And they sort of are inspecting it. They take out the swamp lizards that have taken refuge in there, and they devise what to do now. Like, the Hutts are always going to hunt for us if we continue to live this way of life. Like, do we fight? And Grogu nods. So they suit up. The ship went down, but they've flown worse. Like, he's able to get it working. I wrote down, like, it reminds me of the Snow Spider planet, like when the ship was just absolutely wrecked and somehow they still were able to, like, get it off the ground and fly to greener pastures. So that's what's happening here. And then Mando gets this cool, I don't remember what it's called, please educate me. So I just wrote disintegrate gun. It's the same one that Boba Fett has in The Empire Strikes Back. And then I think Din has it in the earlier seasons of the show. I really cannot remember. Oh, that's something I didn't even talk about. I totally skimmed over that. You guys, when Din and Zeb track down Coin, they corner him and Din says the line. He says, "I can bring you in warm or I can bring you in cold." And that was when I knew that this was the way. But this reminded me of that. Like, they're suiting up, they're ready to go, and then I was like, oh man, I think the last time we saw that gun was in earlier seasons when we met Din and he was like, "I can bring you in warm or I can bring you cold." Oh yeah, I forgot to talk about that. That happened in the movie too, and I loved that part. So anyways, if you haven't noticed yet, when you're listening to my show, it is very much me just kind of like squirreling around with my thoughts as I would if you were sitting right next to me. So, anyways, they get the ship off the ground, they're flying it, and kind of the plan is that they're just going to like fly the ship directly into the palace. The alarm goes off in the Hutt Palace that this unnamed ship is approaching their territory boundary. Everybody wakes up. Grogu is wearing his seatbelt like a good little boy. There's another scrappy dogfight, and Mando makes his way to the main algae tree palace tower, which he crashes directly into it, and we are now entering the final act. Like, if this were a video game, that was the cutscene, and now we are about to jump into the level where player 1 is Mando, player 2 is Grogu, and you have to attack these Lego looking scrappy droids on your way to the twins. So that's what's happening. Let's see, where are we at? Okay. Yes. The two come out on a droid flyer, like what the B-1 battle droids fly, and they make their way down the hall toward the main palace entrance. We go through a lot of custom scrap droid guards before getting to the two final boss mech suit guards, which I was reading something or heard something or whatever. I've been consuming a lot of content from this movie that those two giant mech droids were actually models, and that's really cool. That is really cool. I need to do more research about the ins and outs of this movie so that I can greater appreciate it and pass it along to you guys, the village. Hello. So eventually they're able to take both these mechs out. The father and son prepare to take on Jabba's siblings. The final pieces of the Hutt criminal empire is about to crumble at the hands of a Mandalorian and his apprentice Grogu. So the fire blasts In the palace, the Hutts beg for their life. Din aims to take the shot with his disintegration rifle, and then Embo shows up. He takes Din in a sword duel fight. Embo has sort of like these sword boomerangs, and Din, he has two swords. He tells Grogu, like, go free Rada. Rada wakes up just in time to save Grogu from his gross aunt and uncle, his slug people that were extremely abusive toward him as a child. And so now he's able to take them on in a 2v1. Grogu faces Embo's dog, which was really cute. That he's able to kind of like tame him, and he's like petting him while everybody's fighting. Grogu's just like petting the puppy, the space puppy. Um, this was weird. I don't know if you guys thought this was weird. That the Hutts do not fight how I would have thought they would fight, as, you know, they're slugs. So I didn't really know what to expect, but when I did see it, I was kind of like unsettled. Like, I get it, but it did really remind me of kind of how elephant seals fight, actually. If you watch National Geographic at all, elephant seals get pretty aggressive. And so it almost made me wonder if Hutts had like tusks, like walruses and certain species of seals do. I feel like this could be a really ugly scene, and it could get bloody very quickly. So they're fighting. The trap door is about to cave in under the three Hutts fighting each other. They're all on top of the trap door as Rada delivers the final blow. Plus Embo, plus the dog, they tumble into the murky water below, but Grogu uses the Force to save Rada, and he's literally using like every ounce of strength. Like, he's like shaking because of how heavy Rada is, which I thought was so funny. Like, he wants it bad. He's like, oh, please. Like, he's using every ounce of strength. And you can see the look of relief on Rada. Like, he can't even believe that Grogu just did that for him, which is very touching but also devastating at the same time, because you're like, oh wow, this guy really is not used to being treated kindly. And I just, again, appreciate those little moments through this movie that teach kids valuable lessons, that touch the hearts of viewers, and that really gave us a well-rounded, simple, impactful Star Wars story that if you have a problem with, I'm sorry for you. So the Hutts sort of beg for Embo's help as they're in the pit of despair. He escapes with his dog, and then the dragon snake eats them both like gummy worms, which is again very unsettling. But the creed has been honored. His enemies have died who have seen his face, so he doesn't have to go back to Mandalore and dip in the holy waters and see the mythosaur face to face yet again, because I'm sure that was very terrifying, as much of a spiritual experience as it would be. Rada and Grogu leave for an escape route, sort of leaving Din to buy time with the cool gun, fighting against the Lego mercenary droids. And Din gets a New Republic call. The Inzelans had promised to come back, and they did, and this time they brought reinforcements, bigger ships, bigger people to actually like help save him. And so these ones are called the Delphi Squadron. So yes, the base is the Delphi base, the Paradise base. They drop bombs to officially take down the Hutt criminal syndicate, which is thousands of years old. And so when people talk about like, oh, there was no plot, an entire syndicate who had been in operation since the first movie, since A New Hope, since 1977, this criminal syndicate has been running, is just gone. Like, who is going to usurp the throne? I don't know. But I do know that it's going to make it easier for Boba to sort of have a better control now that the twins are out of the way. So that's exciting for him. We'll hopefully see him in Ahsoka Season 2 as well when the Mandoverse comes together. We get to see these cool X-Wings. Rada protects Grogu. Zeb smiling was a jump scare because, you know, the Colonel is like, okay, like if you can find Zeb, you need to find Mando and Rada and Grogu, like you gotta save them. And then we cut to Zeb and he's smiling, and I was just kind of unsettled by that because we don't see it very often. We see it a little bit once in a while here and there in Rebels, but Definitely not live action. I was like, oh, he's happy. Good for him. It's just because we don't see it a lot, like when the Grump smiles, people pay attention. Um, the gang is trapped at a dead end, but Mando uses his cool gun to sort of open this hole in the wall. There's this part of the movie where the Anzellans in their little ship disintegrate, absolutely obliterate this random rat. I don't know why that was so funny, you guys. It was so funny. So, again, giggles transpired. Zeb ends up saving them because they jump just in time for the palace to explode from the New Republic bomb. We see Dave Filoni. He's the one that notices Mando in the lake below. We get our happy ending. Sigourney Weaver, she's the colonel. She's there. She's happy because Coin was the one that told the colonel that the Hutts were playing both sides. She's like, we don't leave our own behind, and this, we're back on Delphi base at this point. And Mando's like, I'm an independent contractor, and she's like, sure, Mando, sure you are. And then she looks at Grogu, and he like salutes. Again, there's just so many cute moments that are not unnecessary. You're not like, okay, all right, enough with the Grogu crap. Like, no, it's cute and it's wholesome and it's fun, and I buy into it. He is not a puppet. Like, he's a real being. He's CGI. Like, that is a real creature, okay? I believe it. I believe. Clap if you believe. I believe. Okay. Rada ends up deciding to work for the New Republic with Zeb, which is exciting. A new start for him. Rada looks at Grogu and he's like, your dad is one of the good ones. Again, gut punch. We all cried. It is what it is. The Razor Crest is back in space. We don't know where the next adventure will be, but Mando invites Grogu to sit up front and press the hyperspace button for himself. We fly into the stars, and the movie ends. It's a very A New Hope, happy ending. That was great. I can't wait to watch it again. Very, very nice. That is how the movie ends. And with that, that is how the episode ends. Again, I wasn't really sure how I wanted to do this episode, if I wanted to just do a movie breakdown, but I feel like I did okay. Here's what the movie was, here's what I appreciated about it. It really was fun. Like, I have some free time this week, and I do think I'm going to go watch it again. We have a theater here where there is a screen in the front of the room. So a room has 4 sides. 3 of the 4 sides are one whole movie screen. It's a very immersive experience, and I would like to watch this movie in that way. I think it would be a lot of fun, especially because of the cinematography. There's a lot of good aerial shots of the different planets, and then you get a lot of immersive shots like in the arena. So I think it would be kind of fun to see it that way. I am going to see it again. I am going to have a lot more to talk about, but overall I love this movie. I don't necessarily know where I would put it in my ranking, because I don't see it as a typical Star Wars film. It's not like Rogue One, it's not like Solo. It very much is a special. So once I got that in my mind, it was a lot harder for me to determine where I would put it in my ranking. Because it's kind of on its own. It really is. So I love The Mandalorian as a show. I loved this movie. I'm excited to keep watching it. It's probably going to become a comfort film because, again, I just was so happy while I was watching it. I was telling Grant this, getting to experience a Star Wars movie the way a lot of fans were able to experience it, which was as a child. I didn't get to experience that. I was born in 1999, so that's when The Phantom Menace came out. So I wasn't old enough to appreciate a Star Wars movie in the theater. And so then the next one we got was The Force Awakens, and at that time I was 15. So getting to experience it vicariously through the kids that were there and that are going to continue to fill the theaters with their parents, that to me makes the movie even better. Like, I get to see what the hype is. I get to see like how cool it was to be able to go to the movie theater as a kid and enjoy a Star Wars story, because that's what this is. This was a good Star Wars story. It was a fun experience. I enjoyed the movie. and I can't wait to watch it again. So I will go ahead and get into my nerdy outro. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. Happy Friday, everybody. This is where the fun ends. My only hope is you enjoyed, and I will yap at you again next Friday. Bye!
This has been The Village Jedi. Thank you so much for listening. To support this show, please leave a rating or review wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. Go check out the YouTube channel or send me an email to be read and discussed on air. You can also tell a fellow nerd to build the community. I mean this in the nerdiest way possible. May the Force be with you.